This week on the show, we have philanthropist and founder of the Shanti Bhavan organization, Dr. Abraham George. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for watching. This show is all about giving you insights and showcasing brands that help you to live your best life and give you confidence. As always, I want to kickstart your morning with some motivational advice to help you to feel inspired and energized to start your day. Today, I want to talk about the importance of focusing on solutions rather than problems. The reality is, when we are faced with obstacles or a dilemma, the easiest thing to do is to be overwhelmed by focusing on the problem and all the things that can go wrong. But when we reframe our focus and instead focus our attention on problem solving, we program our minds to dwell in possibility rather than doubt. Just like everyone else, successful people face the same obstacles and challenges that we do, but instead of drowning in doubt, they come up with quick solutions to remedy the problem rather than dwell on why it didn't work out. After all, it takes the same amount of energy to stress than it takes to figure out a solution to your problem. Making your mission today to start focusing on solutions when you are faced with challenges and see how fast the situation can change from negative to positive. As Albert Einstein so famously quoted, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Stay tuned. Coming up after the break. And Netflix actually did a documentary on Shanti Bhavan and the Daughters of Destiny. So tell us about that documentary, because it showcases a lot of your work that you do.
It showcases the four girls who grew up there. Netflix somehow discovered us and assigned a award-winning producer, Vanessa Ross, and she sent a camera crew there for a while and for Netflix end. And they were there with us for almost 6-7 years.
Wow.
Filming the children, they're growing up every year. They want to see the transition from small little girls to more mature girls, and so the filming was pretty much not staged. Whatever they want to say, they were allowed to say. I couldn't say anything until the last day, the day before the film was released. So and then we found these kids, talking about their hopes and aspirations and so on.
Next up on the show, we have philanthropist, businessman, and founder of the Shanti Bhavan organization, Dr. Abraham George. Dr. Abraham, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for being here. We have so much to talk about, but before we get into your amazing work with the Shanti Bhavan organization, let's take it back to the beginning. I know that you started your career in the Indian Army. So tell us about that time and how it shaped you into who you are today.
That was almost in my last life, I was trained in an elite school in India for military officers training, like the West Point in the United States. And I was commissioned as an officer at the age of 18 and sent to the Himalayas. I was by the Chinese border for a year, and I met with an accident, dynamite blast, and injured badly. And then I went on to serve for a couple of more years in the Pakistan border. But that was the time when I was trying to get out of the military and come to America for treatment and things like that. And that was my beginning.
Wow. Quite a story there. And I know that you moved to the States and you got your MBA and your PhD, which is very impressive. So tell us how your academics kind of, made you the entrepreneur you are today.
Well, when I came to America, I didn't know much of anything academically. I fortunately got admission to NYU.
Wow.
And I did a couple of masters and a doctoral program. My field was international finance, and I worked for JP Morgan for nearly 3 years. And during that time, I had some ideas, partly from my doctoral work and partly from my work in the bank. And that was a time when computers, we didn't have PCs at that time. We were using dumb terminals and modem for connecting through telephone lines. But I wanted to see if we could work on um, applications using that terminal, the dumb terminal, and motivating companies to solve their financial problems um, using the computers. It was a little ahead of time, but I decided to leave the bank and work on it, and from the basement of my apartment, and
Wow.
with a group of very bright people who used to work um, for Bell Labs and AT&T all night. Actually, they had other work during day, and after a couple of years, an software application was introduced into the market, and then the challenge was to get corporate officers in the finance department to leave their pencils and paper and work on through the computers. They would tell me things like, "Well, we are doing okay." The back of an envelope, I said you can do better. And then it took 10 years of hard work to really make some money.
Mhm.
And at the end of that 10-year period, luckily, the PCs came along, something I didn't expect. And that changed the whole scenario. Corporations didn't have to spend the money on timeshare networks. They could buy a PC, and our software was more expensive than the PC. And so the next 10 years we grew, but I had to spend 25 years before I made some good money.
Mhm. That's the entrepreneur journey, right? Lots of grind, lots of hustle, a lot of time.
Everybody used to start from the basement or the garage.
Yeah. I mean, that's how all the great stories started, right? From the
Right.
basement garage, and then they made millions. And fast forward, let's talk about the Shanti Bhavan organization. What inspired you to create it? By the way, I watched the documentary yesterday, and I was so touched by all of the work you're doing. So congratulations on all the amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this for to answer that question, I have to go back a little bit to my army days. I was at 14,000 feet above sea level, minus degrees, and shortage of oxygen. We were very close to the Chinese border, so there was always a danger. India had a war with China before that. And so, sitting on top of mountains and looking down and seeing the clouds go by, for 10, 11 months, you start thinking, what are you doing? And I happened to read a couple of books which are very important, for the transition I had made. One by Bertrand Russell. He wrote the the history of Western philosophy, and the other by Albert Schweitzer, who won a Nobel Prize. He went in a canoe all the way to Central Africa and started a clinic for the tribals, and lived with the animals. In Bertrand Russell's book, there is a line in there which says, "There is nothing right about war. It is about who is left."
Mhm.
That caught me. What am I doing here? Am I getting myself trained to kill people and spend the rest of my life? So that was something that I was impacted by. The other was, of course, Albert Schweitzer. I found his work is extremely exciting, somewhat romantic, being alone out there, and I wanted a life something like that. So when I was blown up in the dynamite blast, and I escaped by a fraction of a second. I was injured, but I didn't die, obviously. I then uh, realized there must be a reason why I had escaped. And so, with all the thinking and all the reading and everything else, I made up my mind that sometime in my life, one day in my life, I will uh, uh, gone to serve people who are deprived. I had seen poverty in India, traveling, all over India, and also during the 1950s and 60s. There was a lot of discrimination based on caste, and I was appalled by that, and I wanted to contribute to changing that scenario. So those were my motivations, and that led to my formulating some plans. When I make money, and it took me some time, to next 25 years to make some money after I started my own company. But it was all for a different end. Making money was for ultimately doing social work, and it took longer than I thought. Thought I'll make money very quickly, but it didn't
Yeah.
happen. We
Yeah.
always think, those who start businesses. But I sold my business at the end of 25 years to a Fortune 500 company called SunGuard. I worked for them for 2 years because they wanted me to stay back for a while, make the transition smooth, and then sold everything I got. I had consulting jobs, one with the Royal Bank of Canada. I used to come
Oh, nice.
every month to Canada. I loved being there in Toronto and Montreal and all that. But anyway, I got rid of all my consulting assignments and my computer software company, and so managing director at Credit Suisse. And I resigned from this. So everything almost cold turkey. I came to a remote village in South India. That's where I started my social work.
Very nice. And Netflix actually did a documentary on Shanti Bhavan and the Daughters of Destiny. So tell us about that documentary because it showcases a lot of your work that you do.
It showcases the four girls
Yeah.
who grew up there. Netflix somehow discovered us and assigned a award-winning producer, Vanessa Ross, and she sent a camera crew there for a while, and what Netflix sent, and they were there with us for almost 6-7 years.
Wow.
Filming the children. They're growing up every year. They want to see the transition from small little girls to the more mature girls, and so the filming was pretty much not staged. Whatever they want to say, they were allowed to say.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything until the last day, the day before the film was released. So and then we found these kids, talking about their hopes and aspirations and so on.
Yeah, it was very touching. I love how raw it is. That the documentary wasn't, it showed India for what it was. It showed the children how they were being really authentic. And I really enjoyed the documentary. So, and again, congratulations on all the amazing work and changing these girls' lives and all the kids' lives in general, because as you said, there is a caste system in India that obviously, needs to change, but that's the reality, right?
Right, right. It has changed a little bit, but not much.
Hmm.
Well, India has become somewhat prosperous, but that prosperity is for mostly the top 10%, which is top 10% is nearly 150 million people. Pretty good. They are doing well. And then another 300 million who are doing somewhat good. But where is the other billion people? How are they doing? And that's the story that I wanted to tell.
Hmm. And you also established the Baldev Medical Center that provides healthcare for 15 cities in India. So tell us about that as well.
Well, I did a number of things. I went with the idea of, working in the area of poverty alleviation and social justice. But when you start doing, social work in India, in my case, 20 years of absence too, and you see a lot of things. And one of the things I noticed was that the people in the villages, they were really poor. most were living below $1 a day in income for a family. Today, $4 or $5, I would say. It's still, they are very poor.
Mhm.
And they were not employed regularly. They had seasonal labor. So I did a farm for 200 acres to employ all those women. Then I found that they were not keeping good health. They never go to the doctor and so on.
Mhm.
So we built a hospital for them, a free hospital. And then I suddenly felt that the reason for poverty in India is bad governance and corruption, and you know, I need to get into the field of investigative journalism,
Mhm.
and so I started a graduate school for journalists. Uh,
Oh.
and then I ran into the problem. I was falling sick from pollution, and I discovered that lead was still being used in the gasoline, and all the vehicles were polluting the whole city. So I came back to the States and met with CDC, World Bank, WHO, USCPA, everybody, and they trained me and sent me with a bunch of equipment to test the children all over India. We tested in 7 cities, some 23,000 children. That's the largest lead poisoning study that was ever done anywhere. And at the end of which we held a conference, some 25 countries, developing countries, came over because the mission was to introduce prevention and treatment for lead poisoning, and that had a big impact because in India, the oil companies, three oil companies, sent their directors, managing directors over there, and they announced that within 18 months, they will introduce unleaded gasoline. Obviously, I didn't do anything with the gasoline, but I think what we did motivated them to do this quickly, and it impacts some 500 million people today. They are living without lead in the gasoline. So I did a number of things, but my love is for the school where the children are,
Yeah.
who I get at the age of 4. They are taken in at 4 because I felt that it's not, I cannot change their personalities or their habits and all that if I take them later. So I accept only at the age of 4, and
Mhm.
uh, and the parents have to literally hand over the children to me. They stay with me for 10 months in a year. 2 months they go home, and they're with me for 14 years, and
Wow.
then
14 years. Wow.
another 3 4 years in college. We
Yeah.
send them to good colleges. They stay in some hostel, but again we cover the expenses for them, and number of them are in Ivy League schools today. This kind of
Wow.
transformation has never happened in India, where children from one room hut with no toilet or facilities or cooking, um, kitchen, they go on to join Harvard, MIT, and Stanford, Dartmouth, and so on. And this year, for your information, one of our kids received admission to University of Toronto.
Oh, nice.
So he's waiting for scholarship, but he hasn't got it yet. So hopefully he gets it, and then we'll have one in Canada.
Very nice. I love that you're giving these children an opportunity that they would never have because, especially with the caste system and just systematic poverty, being stuck in it, it's really hard for them to get out. So if it wasn't for the school, they wouldn't have that opportunity to go to Harvard, U of T, or any school. So I love that you're giving a chance to these kids because I think it's much needed.
That's true. That's true. It's all about opportunity.
Yeah.
People used to believe that children from this kind of background don't have the capacity to do well in life. They don't have role models. They do something that their intellect is not all that good, And I argued right from the beginning, because of my upbringing here in America. Uh, I said no. If you bring them up well and if you give them excellent education, they will do just as well as children from affluent families. People didn't believe it, and I can convince many people because every time I went to somebody to talk about helping join donations or something like that, they would say, how long would it take to, will I see some results next year? I said, no, you have to wait
Yeah.
40 to 18 years. He said, get out of my office.
Yeah. It's a long process of transformation, right?
Right, right. Now every year the children are going out, they have reached that upper level. But, when we started, they were 4 years of age.
Mhm. And as well as being a philanthropist, you're also a best-selling author. You have a book, Mountains to Cross. So tell us about the book and the importance of giving back for you, because I know that this book is all about being of service to the world.
Well, I wrote my story in an autobiographical sense from childhood. So, because people ask me what prompted you to get into this, what motivated you, I needed to explain that a little bit. Um, but mostly about my work in India, not only the school, but all the other things. My goal was that one, there are several goals, but two or three. One was to explain to others who really want to be of service to others, especially in poverty eradication and issues like that anywhere in the world. What are the kind of challenges that you're going to face? How do you overcome them? And how do you win over the poor? Because unless they believe that you are doing something for them, their response is not very good. Today, the children join the school because the families think this is their golden pass. So that's very important, and I want to tell the world what my experience was. The second important reason, and how to do it, and so on. The second important reason is a lot of people who have made tons of money or good money, or even those who haven't made that much money, and they find they're not that happy. In fact, I read a piece a couple of days ago, Musk saying that I have all this money, but I'm not a happy man.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
somebody wrote to him, or wrote in his social media, they wanted to give it all away. So I'm not sure that is his plan. But I have heard people tell me that they want to find a purpose in their lives,
Mhm.
and I would argue that you'll find happiness and purpose if you do good for other people.
Yes.
If you live for yourself, and if you think that making more money is your purpose, then of course you would have spent all your life doing that. So I show them what I have gained. I'm one of the happiest people on this planet, and
Yeah.
and what these children have given me, the joy, that their success brings to me, and many other poor people who have benefited by my action. I sometimes, tell people, when I drive to Bangalore City, I have stopped I stop at the red light, and then suddenly a woman comes over. She's really, really poor with a baby on her hips, and I can see she hasn't eaten anything, and then I give some money, which I come prepared for that. Somebody who's going to come to the window, and just see her face, the smile on her face, or the happiness on her face that she got some good money. And you can't buy that. You don't do these things for something in return. And the joy of helping people is the purpose,
Yeah.
and transforming their lives.
Absolutely. I think most people think that when they get that car, when they get that job, when they get that 2 million, 3 million, 10 million, 20 million, that they're going to be happy. And once you receive it, you actually realize that happiness is very short term, because then you want more, right? And it's only
Right,
when we give back
exactly.
to others and we're of service, and we we see an impact, that we have purpose, because purpose is different from just, monetary stuff. At the end of the day, we're not bringing it with us, right? It's
Right, right.
with others. So I love that you said that, and you're going to be remembered for all of the impact you've had, all the people's lives you've touched. And I think that's a really great message for anyone watching, is to give back, because when you do that, you actually make money. You make more money by helping others than just living for yourself. So I think that's
Right. You get happiness in a different way. I today I don't think much about any hardship or anything like that. That's not really. I don't live in hardship. In fact, I would tell the listeners, especially the young listeners, I would say, make money first. Money is very important. If you have the money, you can do wonderful things with it. It is. It's not about making money alone. It is also about giving back. But for those who have made a lot of money, think of what's the best way to impact others, and that is through humanitarian work. In my case, I thought education is the best way to make the biggest change. Someone else may say, well, maybe through some medical help. You have to find your own calling, and you will find peace and happiness and joy in what you do.
And speaking of joy, I created my platform to inspire, to uplift, and really to showcase that anything is possible if you have a dream and determination, right? So what would you say to anyone watching this that, might be going through a difficult time in their lives?
Yes. There's so many incidents, I've written about in the book. In fact, it's a collection of stories in some ways, all the experiences I've had. Every chapter is full of stories. And each story tells you something. And it's not easy road in some ways. If you are physically there, if you are not physically there and you're writing a check, it's a different matter. And you come occasionally and see, you put good people. Finding good people is difficult, But in my case, I made the decision to be among the poor. So I live in this remote village, one of the poorest in South India. But it is a different experience. But there are challenges, there are setbacks, there are threats, there are all kinds of things, because when you are trying to help the poorest, the richest don't necessarily happy about it. Their children are not getting educated like the poor children. So, and then therefore there is anger towards you. So you have to deal with some of those things, but we have overcome all those things. Today, we don't have those kinds of problems.
Yeah. And Dr. Abraham, for those of our viewers that want to get involved with Shanti Bhavan or purchase your book, Mountains to Cross, where can they do so?
Well, purchasing my book is the easiest, right? You just get on Amazon or one of those networks. You'll find the book Mountains to Cross or Abraham George. Finding me is also just as easy. If you are an American, you have two presidents by my name, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington.
Very true, very true.
So you combine them and Google and you'll find many, many sites.
Very nice. We're going to link that information below. But Dr. Abraham, thank you so much for being on the show today. Again, congratulations on all your amazing work. I know this inspired people, anyone watching, to give back as well. So thank you for all of the service.
Well, I'm looking forward to Canadians liking my work and the book. Thank you so much, Darriel.
The Darriel Roy Show is available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.